Sometimes the hardest place, to be honest, is in the relationship we say matters most. We say we want deep love, then real life shows up. Exhaustion, phones, old stories about what we are allowed to ask for, what we are allowed to feel, what we are allowed to want. Listeners, on this episode of the Cosmic Confluence, we talk a lot about alignment and soul paths. Today, we are bringing that down to the actual couch, the kitchen sink, the bedroom, the moments where love either feels alive or on autopilot. I'm your host, Sana, and today I am joined by Dr. Amy and Roy Clark. They are the married duo behind Aria Luxury Lubricants and the book, The Four Intimacies, Unlocking the Love You Desire. After decades of working with couples, they saw a real gap, listeners. Great advice was not becoming great habits at home. So, they started building rituals and tools that help couples connect verbally, emotionally, physically, and also spiritually. In real life, not just on some retreat weekend. Their work beautifully blends psychology, neuroscience, design, and also faith. So, listeners, this is not just a buy a product and fix your relationship conversation. This is about how love becomes something we practice on purpose every week. So, Dr. Amy and Roy, welcome to Cosmic Confluence, and I'm really, really honored to have you both here with us.
Thank you very much. It is an honor to be on. So
Beautiful. Okay. Now, before we explore everything here, Dr. Amy and Roy, a lot of listeners, they hear, there are frameworks, there are approaches, there are so many do's and don'ts and checklists and all stuff available around relationship. In simple, honest terms, what exactly is Four Intimacies, and what problem are the Four Intimacies actually solving that you felt that nobody else was addressing?
Well, that's a great question. That is a great question. When we talk about intimacy, everybody thinks about sex right away. But really what intimacy means is being on the same page. And getting couples on the same page is the biggest challenge out there because it includes verbal, emotional, physical, and spiritual aspects of our life. And what we saw was a way to get people on the same page, verbally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And so it's that's been the key that kind of unlocks this extraordinary relationship.
I think that there's a lot of couples that talk a lot. They're like, we talk all the time. And talking logistics, they're talking about the kids. They are just keeping the conversations at the surface. And there are a lot of topics that are off limits or very touchy or explosive. And so they just avoid those. And a lot of times those are the ones that really matter.
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting. That is interesting. And I absolutely agree that, yes, this is a huge gap. And also, Roy and Dr. Amy. So, Roy, when you mentioned that a lot of couples are not on the same page because intimacy doesn't just mean about sex. It basically means that, both the partners are on the same page. Now, many people would interpret that, maybe we have to agree on everything. But that disagreement itself, those small arguments and to and fro's, they themselves, keep that spice between both of us alive. So how is that solving the problem?
Oh, so I love how you brought that up. It doesn't mean that we agree on everything. So we get on the same page with the way that we communicate. So we've got a couple principles. One, I think I'm right all the time.
So do I.
But we don't approach each other that way. That is a recipe for disaster. And so I assume I could be wrong. And so does my lovely bride. So when we have a conversation, we often start with, I could be wrong, but did you say, XYZ? Did you say that, I was dumb? No, of course not, right? Um, and she'll say the same thing. I could be wrong, but did we have something scheduled this afternoon, or was that tomorrow? Oh, honey, no, you're right. We have something scheduled, right? But we just start with this thing like, you know what? I could be wrong.
And I think it's even more than I could be wrong. There can be two different perspectives. We could be standing on opposite sides of a mountain, and it could look very different from each side. So my side isn't wrong. His side isn't wrong. They're
Right.
just two different sides. And I think it gives an opportunity to have a full picture by having different perspectives.
Right.
Or a male's perspective. So it's fun if you can get this curious mindset to explore the different perspective and just say, oh, wow, thanks for sharing that. I didn't see it like that.
Right.
And not feel disrespected or defensive because somebody didn't agree with me.
Right. No, I need Amy's perspective. I cannot see it all. And if I think I can, how arrogant is that? To think that my one perspective is the right perspective. That's silly.
And people stop talking when I think we all know somebody who's always right. And that's not the person that you go to have a conversation with, because it's like talking to a wall, or you're going to get told that you're wrong. And so you just start avoiding that person.
Yeah.
And a lot of couples will do that to keep the peace. They just start avoiding talking to each other. They talk to their friends, they talk to their parents, they talk to the kids about each other, which is terrible.
That is so, that makes it so clear, Ryan, Dr. Ing. And I think this exactly blends with the theme here, because this is basically the confluence of energies, emotions here, that, both the partners, they can have their own different perspectives, but at the end, it's all, like blending together, meaning at a exact point, respecting each other's opinions and perspectives and thoughts and everything. That's a beautiful,
It's
the key, respecting each other's perspective. So even if it's different, of like, oh, cool, thanks for sharing that with me, or thanks for showing me what it looked like from your angle.
Yeah, we're not looking for the same note. We're looking for harmony.
Harmony. Beautiful. That's beautiful.
So I need her to be a different note for there to be harmony.
Yeah.
But we're longing to get on the same page with the right harmony. And the way that we do that is we stay humble by saying, I could be wrong. And then we honor each other by accepting and exploring the other person's perspective. If you can get couples to do those two things in communication, it's going to be extraordinary. And it will, in what we believe, it unlocks so that you can get to the next intimacy, which is emotional intimacy. Like if we can't communicate, then we're not going to be able to identify and empathize the other person's emotion. It's just not going to happen.
And sometimes a lot of people, we think it's just men that don't know how to empathize, but it's not. It's both. And I think a lot of couples skip that step. They might learn how to do verbal intimacy. Okay, you take your turn and talk about from your perspective, then I'll have my turn. But they forget to validate each other. They forget to say, okay, I can see how you got there. Or like, oh, I'm sorry that it feels that way for you.
That'd almost be empathy.
Well, that's what I'm.
Oh,
yeah. So an emotional
connection.
Emotional intimacy, I think, is empathy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I thought you were saying that people they weren't able to connect, and because of that, they can't connect emotionally.
No, I think sometimes if couples will teach them how to, we use the term yield in our book. When Roy is sharing a story, I'm yielding my next thought, my feelings, my perspective, so that I can completely be present and listen and put myself in his shoes. A lot of people, they're listening, but they're listening to respond or to be right, or half paying attention because they're already thinking about what they want to say next. And so sometimes we teach people that yield process but they want to skip over that emotional component and get right to the fixing or get right to the
physical or behavioral intimacy.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, go ahead, Roy. Go ahead.
Well, in verbal intimacy, we teach people one very, very important sentence. And if your listeners are writing anything down, it would be this sentence. We ask questions and listen with the intent to understand and a willingness to be influenced. There are 4 components in that sentence. So the first thing we encourage couples to do is ask questions. Ask a lot of questions. Before you go and make statements and think you've got it all figured out, why don't you ask some clarifying questions? Then be quiet and listen. So we ask questions and we listen. That's it. Don't talk. Don't say anything. Our intent is to understand, not respond. I truly want to understand what my wife is saying, what she means by that, what she's going through. And then the last part is with a willingness to be influenced. That means that you're honoring the person that you have just asked the question to. I'm willing to be influenced by her because I value her insight, her perspective, her understanding. So if you mark down those 4 things within that one sentence, it will change every relationship that you're a part of. We promise.
That is, I think this is so much more relevant right now because we're just coming from my personal experience, as Roy and training that sometimes we just want, as you both of you like perfectly put it out, that we just want ourselves to be validated. We want ourselves to be proven right. And that process, we do not give any opportunity for our partner to even, say something. We just say, okay, I have heard you, now let me say. Let me just,
Yeah.
Yep. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And another, another thought which is coming in my mind is when, let's say I'm talking to my partner, how physically, we can show that, I am actually listening to you. I am, accepting, letting all your, whatever you are saying, whatever you're expressing, getting inside of me, and I'm processing it. Let's say eye contact or whether we are, shouting our shoulders or like sitting or looking at phone. There's so many actions through which sometimes I have also kind of judged, okay, this person is not interested in listening to me, so there is no point in telling anything here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's very true. 70% of communication is nonverbal. So eye contact, body facing towards somebody, not fidgeting, not looking around the room, not glancing at your phone. And there's just a lot that goes into that. And we live in a world of distractions, whether it's kids or your phone or just other people walking by. But it's really important to track with the person, to nod or make some comments like, okay, yeah, that makes sense, or just some engagement to let them know that I'm still with you.
But if you're training somebody to stay engaged, right? If you're training somebody to communicate with their body language, always focus on one thing in particular, and that is eye contact. There is no other body language without having eye contact first. So I think a lot of people get confused with body language. They try and do a lot of different things, and there are some advanced techniques, I would call them. But if you're talking to couples who are they're struggling, or they just want to do something better, then you tell them eye contact is 90% of body language. It might not be, but I tell you what, if they got eye contact down, all the rest will follow, and it'll be 100 times easier for the person to pay attention and follow along.
I don't know about other listeners, but I 100% personally agree with that. Yes. Now, talking about verbal and emotional intimacy, Now, in real relationships, sometimes truth can blow things up. Like, how do you define healthy honesty in a way that does not just become oversharing or low key attacking your partner?
Yeah, great question.
That's great.
I was going to say, I think that I'm always trying to put myself in the other person's shoes. If somebody was going to say this to me, would that be easy to hear and to receive? And so I'm always considering what that feels like. So we talk about in our book, we say the degree to which you're known is the degree to which you can be loved. So the goal is to be sharing your authentic self, who you really are. But that does not mean that you just throw truth bombs around and talk without a filter. So we are very sensitive to each other.
Right. And I think the way that we do that is by asking a lot of clarifying questions. Before we go and drop some kind of truth bomb, we ask 7 to 10 questions. And it's not like we're interrogating somebody. It is that we truly want to know the other person's perspective. If you get people to do that, honey, I have a couple questions I'd like to run past you. Do you mind? Sure. Right. And so, hey, what do you think about this? Or when we were talking about that, what was your perspective on that? Or how do you feel about my parents coming over again for the 3rd night in a row, right? Like, it seems like you're frustrated. When you said you're going to run away, did you really? Well, no. But it's just a lot of questions before we go make statements. Then, if we have something really hard to tell, we call that the 5%.
Yeah. And so that's code for we need to have a conversation. And a lot of our conversation is permission-based. Hey, babe, do you have time for a 5% conversation? That means like we need to put everything aside. We need some room for this conversation. There might be tears.
Brace for impact, if that's what it means.
And so we want to make sure that we're not just launching into a 5%. I want to make sure that Roy has the time, that he has the bandwidth for that conversation, and we're both prepared for that.
I also know that it's going to be hard for her to share it. This is difficult. We call it a 5% because 95% of the stuff we talk about is pretty easy. It's that last 5% that we don't always clarify. We don't always talk about. We kind of say, I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I don't want to, make anybody angry. We're just going to, sweep it under the rug. But that does not work for couples. That doesn't work for any healthy relationship. So if she says, or I say, hey, babe, I have a 5%. Are you have time for that right now? Is that, and if it's, hey, she might say, hey, can I wrap this up? I got some work that I just need to finish. Another 30 minutes. Do you mind? Absolutely. I'll meet you, in the library in 30 minutes. And so once again, everything's permission-based and asking a lot of questions, but then we're prepping each other. And so I know that it's going to be hard for her to say something. So I'm going to be very, very tender. I'm going to be very sensitive to it. And if it's something that I have to deal with, or I might have accidentally hurt her and she wants to bring that up, it's always, oh, sweetie, thank you so much for bringing that up. I had no intention of hurting you, but whatever I said, whatever I did, I can figure out a way to do it different. We'll make it happen. So
that's one of the things we hear on a weekly basis. Couples say, I'm not going to apologize because I didn't mean it. I didn't mean to hurt you. And we're like, I don't care. We assume that nobody actually means to hurt anybody. But we believe in the policy of apologizing quickly. Like, I apologize because the relationship is hurt, because my husband is hurt. And so I can have humility and just apologize quickly and then ask the questions of, like, help me understand how you got there. And that's one of our favorite openers for a conversation. So before a truth bomb, I'm going to say, hey, babe, help me understand what you meant when you said this. Or I'm not sure if that's what you said, but this is what I remember. This is what's playing over and over in my head. And I might be wrong. And I think in counseling, when you work with couples for years, you see how many times somebody is mad based off of a wrong presupposition.
Yeah.
So those clarifying questions, I'd say 8 out of 10 times can probably avoid a conflict without just coming out and being like, you're insensitive, or
Yeah.
just the truth bomb is an attack.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, and I also think, I don't know, I mean, not sure whether, you agree with me, listeners would agree with me, but I think, it definitely needs some amount of inner work at individual levels as well. Because we are not internally in the right state of mind and energy and body anymore. I don't think we would think about it, because, it's very easy to, although, we may not say or maybe share those words or share that opinion for a partner intentionally, maybe unintentionally, in that fit of rage, or maybe we are hurt, that's where we are saying. But I think that makes such a huge difference here. So that's where my next question comes, Roy and Apremi, that how important is mindset here in all these, we are right now at verbal and emotional intimacy. We'll go to the other two, but right now, how much importance does mindset hold?
Huge amount.
Yeah.
We always talk about beliefs become your reality. So having a positive belief about each other and about ourselves, that I'm worthy of love and love and respect, helps me to have the courage to have these difficult conversations. And I believe that Roy is for me. And so if there is a hurt in there, I believe that it was an accident or an oversight, but yeah, we definitely have to make sure you can't have a positive result out of a negative mindset.
Right. Yeah. So when you have adults that were abused as children, they grow up with certain mindsets. I'm not worthy. I should have defended myself. There's a lot of blame. There's a lot of misappropriations of emotions, and they take all that belief system to their relationship. So you asked earlier, you said how much personal work should be done. Odd.
Yeah.
You're always working to reconcile your past and come to figure out what are the errors that you were believing, that you were taught as a child, that you're now bringing to your adult life. And once you learn how to reconcile the past, really let go of the errors and embrace the truth of the fact that you are worthy, like Dr. Amy said, worthy of love and respect, that's when you can start to offer real love and respect to the one that you love as well.
And also, I would also like to add in the factor, sometimes in the relationship, like, one partner may have a very difficult past when it comes to relationships, maybe former abusive partners or some kind of very difficult breakup. And I think that really puts a huge dent on this perception around relationships for that particular person. So have you had any kind of, sessions or experiences with the couples that you have worked with, where it took a lot of time, but then eventually it worked out for both of the partners?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day that we're in the office, pretty much.
Yeah. Now the people who come to the office, they want help, and that's the difference. You need to want help. You need to be teachable. And if you give us a person that's teachable, we'll change their lives. And it's not us, it's them doing the work. But we just had to go through our own work. We learned it. We experienced it. We were taught by great people. Our lives were changed as well. And now we implement it in our life and we share it with others, and we see life change every day.
Yeah. Sometimes we'll have a couple and one of them will start, either Roy or I will start asking the questions to probe a little bit into the past and like, where did this belief come from? And the spouse is just sitting there on the edge of their seat, like they're listening for the first time. And the degree of understanding and compassion that comes through hearing the person's story is really impactful.
Yeah.
And I think that like sometimes we will have it's a couple session where one person gets very vulnerable and we start really working through the reconciling the past with that one person. And the next week we see a different couple show up through that door.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Amazing. That's amazing. Okay, I think the next part is definitely so interesting. Let's go to the physical intimacy here. Yumi. Now, when it comes to physical intimacy piece, I think, mostly, let's say, if the conversation, the discussion is around luxury lubricant and a designer bottle, aesthetics and all that. Okay, this is a bit extra. So from your lens, Roy and Amy, how can all these products like, lubes and toys or anything extra for couples who feel awkward even talking about these, what is one way to introduce a tool like this without it sounding like, like a jibe or a kind of criticism of your partner's body or performance?
I think that's exactly why we invented Aria, because we listen to couples every week and they're talking about, we want to reconnect, we want the spark back, we miss the days when we were in love and making love, and we don't really know the roadmap of how to get back there. And so one, we would say, like, please read the Four Intimacies. This will help. There's questions at the end of every chapter that help it helps you guys to start engaging with deeper conversations. But then the Aria gift box has an intimacy card inside of it. And so it's a luxury experience. You open the box and the woman feels very cherished or valued, like, wow, you got this for me. It's very, I think, luxury.
This is the lubricant box.
The lubricant box.
Yeah.
And then there's a conversation card, and there's 4 questions. One that explores verbal intimacy, one that's emotional, one that talks about physical, and the other one is a spiritual. And so by starting conversation and connecting emotionally, that takes some of that awkwardness away.
Right. So we would say great sex, regardless of history or whatever it is going to require 2 things. We provide 2 things in physical intimacy: security and pleasure. And, we think we all have pleasure down, but we forget about security. And how do you provide security in physical intimacy? Well, you do that through verbal and emotional intimacy. So when I provide security for my wife, it's not like I lock the bedroom door. No, it is she can trust me with anything. She knows that I'm going to communicate with her, that she can communicate anything to me while we're during foreplay, during intercourse, during post-play, whatever it is. And she feels safe enough to ask me any question. Honey, did you like that? Would you like this? Can I touch you there? Would you like to try this? And she knows that I'm not going to react with like, what are you, crazy? What are you, nuts? What are you, a pervert? No, right? I'm not going to react like that, because that would not provide security for my wife. And so we've just learned how to provide that security through verbal and emotional intimacy. And if couples can practice 1 and 2, verbal and emotional, they take that into the bedroom. They take that into the bed. And it's, once again, I'm going to ask questions. and I'm going to listen. Darling, would you like to try this evening? How does that feel? Would you like more pressure, less pressure? I mean, these are all just, and it is a little awkward at first. When we had our first conversations, we're turning a little red and it's a little uncomfortable. But as we found to trust each other more, as we built security within each other, it was like, now it's, hey, what do you think about that? Or let's read this and listen to that. And, you want to try this or do that? And sometimes it's, I don't think that's for me. Okay, cool. Or, yeah, let's try that. That'd be different. Okay.
We have a yes, no, maybe sheet for our clients. And that's kind of fun. Like a good way for somebody who hasn't talked about it ever before. They can just check the boxes and then have a conversation of like, why is it a maybe? And then that exploring conversation isn't to try to convince you into making a yes. I just want to know like what the hesitation is. And so if you have 2 yeses, yay, like go have fun. If there's 1 no, then it's a no for everybody. And if it's a maybe, then that can be a really good conversation to have.
So that's a great tool that kind of takes out a lot of the awkwardness, because it's a couple reading through 50 different things.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely it comes from that, point of mutual respect.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But if a couple has a lot of awkwardness and they feel majorly disconnected, then we would say work on the friendship first. Like go back to the beginning and start dating again and work on your friendship, work on the verbal and emotional intimacy without trying to run to the bedroom to fix it.
Yeah. Learn how to communicate first.
Right.
Because you're going to need to do that in the bedroom too, as well.
Okay, and the next one, I think, this is a bit, okay. I mean, this is so exciting, very rare, but you both bring faith into your work. One of the 4 intimacies being spiritual. I mean, real talk. Now, spiritual language, it has hurt a lot of people, especially on sex and desire. So, how do you invite spiritual intimacy without recreating shame or pressure, especially for couples who are deconstructing or they do not, share the same beliefs?
Yeah. Great question.
Yeah.
This is one of our favorite areas because, I was a pastor for 10 years. Amy's first practice was called Christ-centered counseling. So we come from a Christian background. We're open theists now, which just means that, we start with our faith and we explore so much. We love our Hindu friends. We love our Muslim friends. We love our atheist friends, and we value their perspective. We think we need it to understand who God is. But when it comes to our faith and what we believe that sex was God's idea, that the orgasm was his idea. Like, how did we get to this misunderstanding of what sex is when in the beginning, this was his intention and his gift for his children? How do you not explore this idea of sexuality and how to treat each other with physical intimacy without talking about spirituality? This is the way we are designed, and it is his intention. I don't know about all the other faiths in regards to what their view on sexuality is, but I know that from our perspective, this is a God who loves the idea of couples coming together and making love and having extraordinary intimacy. When we start with that perspective, you just see the lights go on in people's eyes. When they talk to us, we just let them know there's no judgment here. In fact, it is God's desire for couples to have extraordinary sex.
If the body's the temple, right? Like we each take care of our own temple, love and respect ourselves. And then I think it's honoring God's creation. When I'm exploring my husband's body or he's exploring mine, I feel like we're really honoring and like filled of gratitude at his creation. So,
I love what he did with Molar. I think it's amazing. I think he did a great job.
Oh, that's lovely. And I absolutely, I mean, this is something I also believe in. I think sometimes, I don't know, I may be right or wrong, but this is confusion of, religious or religion, faith and spirituality. I think spirituality is completely, it's your soul. And that's something, it's kind of the God is within you. And as we say, our body is a temple. So I think sex or love making is like, the confluence of both of these souls. So I I mean personally I absolutely agree with you and I support this as well.
Yeah, beautiful. And you're right. Well, go back to the first question, right? We're looking harmony here within our sexuality, within our intimate time. I want my wife to be fully feminine and fully experiencing what her body can experience. And she longs for my body to do the same. And so when there's that reciprocity, it creates this incredible harmony, which just leads to extraordinary intimacy.
Absolutely. And let's say if a couple is spiritually mismatched, or let's say like one partner is deeply religious and the other is not, are there any, rituals, like spiritual rituals that they can share that does not require them to, like agree on theology or, disagree?
yeah, we were considering that when we wrote the book, the Four Intimacies, because we have a number of clients that are not faith-based. And so spirituality, or like the spiritual intimacy, can just be a shared vision of basically the we is greater than me. Like our relationship is, we're better together.
Right.
And then creating a shared vision and purpose and building a life together could be their idea of spiritual intimacy.
Yeah. And what we do is we challenge couples to explore, seek a God who is good, who's bigger than you, and who is mysterious. All right. If you can get behind those three things, I think you can have a lot of fun and a lot of connection spiritually, because there's no judgment. We're going to go back to that first sentence again. We're going to ask questions and listen. I'm going to try and understand what my wife believes spiritually, and I'm going to allow myself to be moved by her, to be influenced by her. And so we have fun. We'll say, honey, do you believe in aliens? And we laugh and, yeah, I think I do. Okay, cool. We don't have any judgment there. Well, then, according to our faith, Jesus came and died for our sins. Well, would he have to die for people on other planets too then? Like, how does that work? And there's just this mutual exploration. We get, when people come from a religious background and the other person doesn't, there's often this judgment. And that does not work. In fact, I don't know, it doesn't work in the Christian faith, and I don't know if it works in any other faith either.
I don't think so. It works. It works. Yeah. Super. So before we wrap up, like you both talk a lot about this gap, between we know what to do and we actually do it at home. So, let's say about the Aria intimacy cards, like if I pulled a card about, say, emotional or verbal intimacy, what is a question on there and how would you coach a couple to respond in a way that, builds connection, not defensiveness? Maybe having pick a sport ball.
So I have the card in front of me. And so the first question is, what is something I say that makes you feel loved and adored?
I love it when you tell me that I'm handsome.
And then the second one is, when do you feel the most emotionally connected to me? And so I don't think that when you're asking questions about how the other person feels, I don't think there's a lot of people usually don't get defensive when you talk in I feel statements. Like, I felt this way when this happened, or how do you feel here? It's when somebody starts telling the other person how they feel. Nobody likes that.
Right.
Or like basically judging somebody's motive without asking.
Yeah. So if they learn how to communicate, once again, they'll be able to answer the questions that are being asked to them. And that is, once again, stay humble. I could be wrong here, but I think humility plays a large part. And then honor the other person by allowing yourself to be influenced. I never thought about it that way, honey. Thank you for your perspective. That's amazing. That's really cool.
Even just saying thank you for sharing that is a great response that couples can start with. If I ask Roy a question, wow, thank you for sharing that, Leigh. I use that on my daughter. Like, she's 15, drop her off from school. She shared something a little vulnerable the other day, right before she jumped out of the car. And I was like, baby, thank you so much for sharing that with me. And it's like, I value that conversation. And she just looked at me like, yeah, okay, Mom, and jumps out of the car and was scurries off to school.
I mean, a real practical step, like if people don't want to buy the book, that's fine. Go to ChatGPT and say, hey, Chat, give me 12 questions that will strengthen my relationship with my lover. And guess what? Chat will give you really good questions. And just ask him. I was working with this 16-year-old boy, and he was like, what do I ask her? I go, I don't know, let's ask Chat. Hey, Chat. We just laughed through it. It was some great questions. If you do that with the one you love and make that a regular practice, you're going to have a great relationship.
Right. Well, that is really, really sexy. And we wrap up, Brian, Aria. If listeners are very sure they are going to definitely check out that. But if they want to connect with both of you and check out Aria intimacy cards and all the work, all the lovely, wisdom that we're sharing, what would be the best way to connect?
If they go to arialuxlife.com, go to Aria, A-R-I-A, Lux, L-U-X-E, life, L-I-F-E.com, arialuxlife.com, and you can purchase any one of our products and reach out to us. Our contact is there. We would love to hear from you. And if you need any help with your relationship, you can reach us there as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, listeners, you heard that from Roy and Amy, and I'm going to have all the links in the show notes along with this on your favorite podcast platform. So, I feel like this, this conversation today just gave us language for things many of us have been feeling or maybe longing for, but we did not know how to name. So, listeners, verbal, emotional, physical, spiritual, though sound simple on paper, yet in practice, it is basically how we show up as humans with each other. So, thank you so, so much. Not just giving theory, but actual practices couples can try. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us on.
So, to all the listeners out there, this has been Cosmic Confluence with me, Sana. Thank you for letting this conversation sit in your heart and in your home. Take what resonates, leave what does not, and remember, intimacy is not something you deserve one day when you are healed enough. It is something you get to practice imperfectly, starting now. Until next time, this is your host, Sana, signing off. Thank you.